he was fighting in PFL, and it's a tournament, and they base it on points. So even though he lost, he still goes through anyway to the quarterfinal, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I think he gets 6 points if you finish them in the first round. And I think Rory had a first round submission against Curtis Melinda or something like that. So he already had the 6 points, so he goes through anyway. But obviously, it's still not a loss that you won on your record when obviously you won. You did win the fight. But yeah, that was last weekend, I think.
I want to watch that afterwards, I think. Unless we catch the second half of the Euros, but let's see. If you watch it in America, we actually watch football in England, and it's football, not soccer. But that's another show. But yeah, another great fought on the weekend. Your main man. When I first met Ashley, we worked in a solicitor's, Hampson Hughes, and he'd walk in on a Monday morning. Don't know if you can guess who that's supposed to be. The Spider, Anderson Silva.
No,
but he fought Chavez Jr. on the weekend and won boxing. I know he's boxed before Silva, but that's some achievement. Well, I've got it written down. He was 52-5. He's now 52-6. Chavez, and he's fought some decent fights. Chavez, he's got a good record.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I don't really know too much about the guy. To be honest, I recognise his second name, but it's his family who's like a famous fighting family, aren't they?
Yeah, his dad was unbelievably good. Yeah,
right.
Okay. It's not to take anything away from him. I mean, don't get me wrong. You wouldn't have him up in your top 10, or I wouldn't personally.
Yeah.
But he's a good boxer, mate. You don't get 52-5 or 52-6.
Yeah,
not up there. But I think if you're going to choose anyone at that middleweight, I mean, he was WBC champ. He retained it for a good few fights. I don't know how many other belts he's held, but I remember him being WBC. And you're not taking that belt too easily, But
yeah,
I think he was middleweight, and he may have fought at light heavy, but. Yeah, to go in there and to do a job against someone whose main sport, background, and I know it was split decision, but to take it off two judges is good work.
Well, everyone had him. Everyone that I've seen, they've had him as comfortably winning. I know it went down as a split decision. That's only a split decision. Just means that another referee didn't agree with the other two. That's all it is. But apparently it was it was quite comfortable for Anderson Silva. Wasn't it? Apparently
2 or 3 judges scored it as a win. You'd prefer the 3 judges and have it as unanimous.
Yeah.
Just means
did you watch the fight, Neill? Did you watch it? Sorry, did you watch the fight? Because I haven't watched it.
I've watched the highlights, to be honest with you, mate, because it's not YouTube boxing, the 2 athletes, but again, it's cross sports. I know Anderson Silva's done some boxing before, but nowhere near on the same level.
Yeah. And
I am kind of getting, it's like this Logan Paul's now calling out Mike Tyson and stuff. And
seeing that, yeah.
I'm kind of getting to the point where I don't feel like that they should be having these fights anymore.
Yeah.
But the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul, for me, people are starting to actually believe in these YouTubers and stuff now, and then people are saying stuff like, "Will Floyd Mayweather beat Conor McGregor?" And then they think less of Conor McGregor, when really put Floyd Mayweather in a cage with Conor McGregor and he's getting fucking ribboned. I kind of feel like it's taken away from people and what they do in their own sport. So I watched the highlights, but I was never watching the full thing and waiting up for it or anything like that.
No, the only reason why I ask is I was just saying, did you have it comfortable for Anderson Silva? Was you kind of 100% he won that fight?
Yeah, I mean, from what they showed on the highlights, highlights are highlights, and what I've noticed before, I've watched fights in the past, and then someone's we just mentioned Johnny Hendricks, Robbie Lawler. I remember watching the first fight, and they showed all Johnny Hendricks highlights.
Sorry, just letting the cat out. I want to go out. I was
Fair enough. But
he listens to the podcast. Listens to it.
Wants to get on. Doesn't like what I'm saying. But yeah, that Robbie Lawler, I remember seeing it, and like it was quite a close fight. It was the 5th round. I remember being like the sort of decider, and like Johnny Hendricks had about 50 takedown attempts, and Robbie Lawler had defended about 50. In the 5th round, Robbie Lawler just gassed, but the way they showed the highlights, then I was like, fucking hell, that was not the fight I watched. That was just the bitch that you wanted. So from what I saw, he looked comfortable. He looked more than comfortable, and it looked good. But without watching the whole thing, I mean, it was only 8 rounds as well.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'll be honest, like for me, it was a good thing to wake up to. So I didn't watch it, but I knew it was happening. Like as you were saying, like I love Anderson Silva. He was the first. It was Shogun Hua and Anderson Silva for me. Don't know why, but they were the 2 guys that I was always drawn to when I first started watching it. And I don't know. I didn't think Anderson Silva. I didn't really think too much of the boxing fight, to be honest. But just the fact that he went out there and he was able to actually get the win, hang in there, and he looked good doing it. At the age of, what is he, like 40? What is he, 46 or something? 40?
Silva?
Is he 44, 45? I can't remember how old he is.
I thought he was about 42, 43.
Is he? Yeah.
I thought so. Could be wrong.
Early 40s, and he's doing that against the guy who's what? Is he like 35? Something like that.
I haven't got a clue on Chavez. Been years since I've watched him.
He's a younger guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them with him. It's sort of, he's not going to be. It must be a couple of years ago now when he last had a belt. So yeah. He's probably mid to late 30s.
But as you said, to go out there and to do that, to show kind of flashes of the old Silva where he'll put his hands down and he'll showboat. I just thought it was a proper feel good moment. And I think as well, like you listen to Silva, like how many times has Silva said he wanted to go out and box? Is it Roy Jones Jr.? He's always wanted that fight, hasn't he? So he actually might get it now, because he's not on the contract with the UFC anymore. That's why he was able to do this boxing fight. So I'm kind of like, maybe try for the Roy Jones Jr. fight then. I
mean, the thing with Roy Jones is they keep showing him on the pads and that, and he looks amazing. When I watched him in the Tyson fight, it wasn't as convincing. I mean, he is getting on now. And I do feel with Roy Jones, I don't want to piss off someone who can knock me out, but I remember seeing him. So do you know Tony Moran?
Heard of him, but
boxer. He's got a world championship belt and that, or he did do. Does the doors and stuff around Liverpool. He's a good guy. But I remember he was meant to fight Roy Jones, and they'd had it up. He got halfway through the camp, and I just remember him putting on Facebook just saying, he's got a bigger money fight, so he's just fucked it off. Didn't say to them, wait 8 weeks. He just fucked it off. Just fucked it off halfway through the camp for money. And I feel like after hearing that, I just feel like he's just looking for any money he can get.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe the Silva fight would be good for him then, because I think that'll generate a lot of money. But for Anderson Silva though, mate, like he just loves doing it, doesn't he? Like I think he'll do it. Like MMA, he said that he won't go back to MMA because he just can't do that training anymore. Like it's hard. But he says with boxing, he's able to kind of do that correct training for boxing to actually go in and fight.
Understand that.
And I think he's just doing it because he loves it. Like his son's started MMA now, hasn't he? Anderson Silva's son.
Has he? Yeah.
He's early 20s. Yeah, and he started MMA. He started MMA now, and he looks quite good, to be fair. So but yeah, I was made up to see him win. To be honest, I was just made up to go on to Instagram on the Sunday morning, just seeing he won. It was probably a feel good moment. I thought.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to describe what you just said there, because I've from personal experience, if at my age now at 37, if I wanted to go back and do one or the other, I'd have to choose boxing. Apart from time constraints with having to work and stuff, the amount you have to put in terms of not just physical training, because you put just as much physical training into both, but it's learning each discipline and learning to make them gel. It's it's like fucking playing 5 board games and making them all come together. You'd have to learn each technique of it. Whereas boxing, you're focused on one thing. I mean, you still got to learn different aspects, your defense, you know, your punching, you got to work your different jabs and head movements and stuff, but you can concentrate on so much more. I mean, you've got to be an all-rounder nowadays, and for him to come back and do MMA, that's just so much. I mean, his knowledge base is already
there. I think it was, it was just quite like an honest assessment from Anderson Silva, just admitting, you know, I can't do it anymore. I simply just can't go into that training camp for MMA. But obviously, like with boxing, it's kind of right now it's comfortable for him to obviously, and especially at the level he's fighting, you know, he's not fighting any kind of like, you know, young up and comers. As if he was still an MMA mate, he probably would be getting these like new guys coming up. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what they tend to do, just throw them to the wolves, because obviously he's got a big name and stuff. So it's probably the perfect place for him, like right now, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? He fighting at middleweight, he's got loads of reach, and he's really evasive, and he's always stood up. And you know, he's hard to hit, and he's never really took massive punishments in his career, has he? Can you think of one when he's took massive, other than breaking his leg?
No, I mean the first fight with Chael Sonnen was was a bit of a I mean that was a dominant performance by Chael.
Was that a dominant performance or punishment though? It was more of a dominant performance than punishment, wasn't it?
What do you mean? Sorry,
you didn't think after that fight he's going to have a headache for days, but you did feel like he got dominated up until he.
Oh, yeah, that's why I said it was a dominant performance. Like he was, I mean, he did drop, and I mean, Anderson Silva wasn't proper like cut up and bruised, but Chael Sonnen dropped him twice. To be fair to him, like, you know, the great Chael Sonnen, he dropped him twice. So like, I think yes, you obviously have that fight where he took a few shots. Obviously, we have the Chris Weidman fight, don't we? Then you got the Bisbee one. I think it was just later on in his career. The Bisbee fight, he obviously took bit of punishment, and then the Uriah Hall fight was that wasn't nice to see, to be honest. That was it was just a bit like, why, like, you know, this is just what's going to happen now. You can't compete with these guys anymore, like,
especially, you know, Uriah Hall, who's been hit and miss.
Yeah
If it was a bigger name, I mean, he's a big name, Uriah Hall, I shouldn't really say that, and he's done some amazing knockouts and stuff, but you always feel like he's never really in the name, one of the names that you consider for taking a belt. Or would you?
No, he's no. I think he suffered mentally, Uriah Hall, though.
Thanks for watching this one way fighting short. Yeah, drop some comments below. Let us know what you think about Anderson Silva. You know, what did you think of the fight? What did you think in terms of who he should fight next, if he should again, if he boxes again? What do you reckon, Roy Jones? Do you reckon someone else? Do you reckon he should just kick it in now and just retire fully? Or even, like what I said, you're enjoying watching these fights where they cross over from boxing to MMA. Go on, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and enjoy your day. More importantly, enjoy your fucking day.